My name is Jackson Gregory from the Gregory Talk Show. Thank you guys for watching. Today we are going to debunk the probability version of suffering and evil. Of suffering and evil. Alright, let's get on it. So, suffering provides empirical evidence that God's existence is highly unlikely. Empirical basically means observable. It seems improbable that God would have good reasons for permitting suffering and evil. Alright, there are... How many responses are there? Alright, so we've got a few premises. So the first one is, we are not in a position to say, God, you don't have good reasons for permitting suffering. We can't say that, because God is just above us. His ways are better than ours. He's unlimited, or actually, he's maximum. He can make good things out of bad things. We aren't in a position to say he doesn't have good reasons for permitting suffering, because we have a narrow scope of view, but God doesn't. If we only look at the suffering and the evil of the world, because probability is relative to background information. If we only take into account the suffering and evil of the world, of course God's existence might seem improbable. But if we take into account all the powerful arguments for God's existence, like the Kalam cosmological argument, Leibniz's contingency argument, and so on and so forth, then God's existence is not improbable. I would say God's existence, taken in all those powerful arguments like the fine-tuning argument, the moral argument, God's existence is highly probable. Alright. And Christianity entails doctrine that it's not about being happy. The chief goal of life is not happiness. It is to come to know God. And mankind is in a state of rebellion against God. God's purpose is not restricted to this life, but it goes into eternal heaven. And the knowledge of God knowing God is the ultimate fulfillment of life. So all these proofs point that the logical probability, or the probability version of the logical problem, not the logical, I'm sorry, but the probability version of suffering and evil fails, just like the logical problem of suffering and evil. Thank you guys for watching. I love you. Most importantly, God loves you.